with the our beginning of May episode of 5 Minutes at Frat House with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. And we're covering all the sports that's, I don't fit to print, something like that, you know. But listen, here's the deal, folks. We will try to keep things to about 30 minutes or so this evening, huh? Can we try? We'll try to do that?
We'll see. We'll see.
Listen, before we jump into our regular programming here at Sidekick.
Shut up and start talking.
Last week at this time, we were getting ready for the first round of the NFL draft. And after much speculation about a less than dazzling class of football talent, there did end up being quite a few surprises. And it started right off with the number 1 pick in the draft, when for weeks it was assumed that the Kansas City Chiefs would be taking Texas A&M offensive tackle Luke Joeckel. They switched it up on us and took Central Michigan's offensive tackle Eric Fisher.
They drafted me.
So we kind of saw the draft, well, not in all cases, but a little bit kind of follow that formula, where there were a few surprises as we went through.
Yep.
Real quick, though, the highest grades for the draft were given to teams for their overall draft performance were given to teams like the Minnesota Vikings and, surprise, surprise, your St. Louis Rams. Nice job. So how do you think your Rams did in this draft?
I think they did really good. They picked basically the same as I did in our mock draft. They took Austin, and I
thought was a gutsy move.
And whereas I had taken Patterson with the first pick, and then with their second pick, we both went with Ogletree.
Right.
So I'm glad to see.
So in other words, you feel they did well because they read your mind.
Or I read their mind. I don't know. But it's where I thought they, my expert analysis where they needed help. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and they continued to do well down the line as well. I mean, really, down to it into the second and third rounds as well.
Right.
So overall, the Rams got high grades, and we're going to see how that translates, obviously, as we continue to go. We're actually going to see how it translates for a lot of the teams, because in the next number of weeks, for many teams anyhow, I know right here in Philadelphia, they're already talking about the rookie camps that will be kicking up in the next couple of weeks. In fact, rather shortly, really. And I would imagine that a number of teams will be doing likewise. All right? Okay. Hey, before we jump off of football, though, we're going to get the Frat House Facebook post of the week out of the way early because it is football related. And that came as a result of, Jets quarterback Tim Tebow. It was kind of expected, finally cut, I guess, the other day following the Jets drafting of Geno Smith. And that led to numerous job offers being directed Tebow's way, including an offer from an indoor football team, the Omaha Beef, who said that they would pay him $75 a game. To that, I posted the comment, quote, "I do not understand why some people and places feel that it's okay to continually disrespect Tim Tebow. Whether you like him or not, he's still a young athlete with something to offer. Is it that people feel he has become a caricature? This offer is so ridiculous as to be insulting." Well, that post generated, as you can see here, the most conversation and subsequently got the most views. So I would ask, keep the posts coming, keep the comments coming. Of course, in order to participate, well, you got to like our Facebook page first, and that means you got to get out to Frat House Sports over on Facebook, and you got to like that. You got to comment.
Where's the beef?
Yeah, where's the beef? Yeah. All right. Let's go over and take a look at motorsports. Now we're into our regular segment. Let's go over and take a look at motorsports.
Yep.
And we're going to start it off with a little NHRA drag racing that, by the way, went live, as we said it was going to, went live on Sunday in the final rounds from the Royal Purple Raceway out in Houston. They got rained out, so there was no live broadcast, unfortunately, on Saturday. They got rained out, but they were able to go live that on Sunday, and it was exciting. It was really, really fascinating to watch. I don't know if you got a chance to see any of it, but by going live doing that, we got a chance to see so much of what goes on in the pits. These guys breaking the engines down, ripping them right down to the blocks and rebuilding them. It was amazing.
We'll do it live!
They did, in a very short period of time, too. So it was fabulous, fabulous, entertaining. Talk about reality TV. There it was. But on Sunday, in our favorite, the funny car division, well, that got mixed up just a bit again this past weekend. When the final had, let me roll my eyes, one of my favorite guys, Cruz Pedregon, going up against Tim Wilkerson. And in that final, 4.24 seconds later, Cruz won the heat at just under 297 miles per hour. And, well, that kind of propelled him to the top of the points leaderboard. And since I just mentioned it, let's take a look at the leaderboard where it stands at this point. Over in the Top Fuel Dragster division, it continues to be Tony Schumacher at the top over Antron Brown, leading him by 70 points, as I just pointed out. In the funny car division, we have a new leader on the board, Cruz Pedregon, taking over 37 points ahead of Matt Hagan. Just an observation, but after early season good runs by really, it seemed like almost all of the John Force Racing team drivers, and then of course also Ron Capps over in the DSR Napa car. Both teams have cooled off quite a bit recently. In Pro Stock, Mike Edwards, this one didn't go back and forth this week. Mike Edwards held on to the top spot for the second week in a row. I don't think we've seen that all season long. He's now 67 points over Alan Johnson. And just like last week, no week off this week for NHRA. The dragsters, funny cars, and stock are all at it again this weekend at the Atlanta Dragway in the Summit Racing Equipment Southern Nationals. And, well, what that means is it means we'll be right back at it as well next week at this time, bringing you an update. Alrighty, let's go take a look at NASCAR.
Yep.
And last weekend we saw some Saturday nighttime racing down at the short track at Richmond International. And who won it? Well, it was the guy who led a whopping total really, of 3 laps. Kevin Harvick, with his first of the season. While lap leader, Matt Kenseth, he had 140 laps led. Well, he came in 7th, and Clint Boyer, who himself came in 2nd in laps led, 113 laps, he came in 2nd in the race. So our top 5 Saturday included Clint Boyer, Joey Logano came in 3rd, Juan Pablo Montoya, how about that one, came in 4th, and Jeff Burton came in 5th.
Yep. And Danica finished 29th.
Oh,
broke her top 25
she's
streak.
going backward.
Yep. Sorry.
Let's go over and take a look at the leaderboard after 9. Jimmy Johnson stays at number 1 with a 6th place finish. Look at this one with a 6th place finish, and you'll be telling us about the biggest movers this week in a moment. Yep. I would suspect this might be one of them. 6th place finish at Richmond. Carl Edwards moves all the way up to number 2. Casey Kane moves down to number 3. He moves down 1 spot, while Dale Jr. moves up 1 spot to number 4. Yep. And Clint Boyer makes the top 5 again in the 5th spot. Yep. All right. And with that, since we're showing leaderboards, let's go take a look at this week's edition of, or actually, before we get to that.
The biggest movers movers? Or
I was going to say, let's take a look at this week's edition of the drama that's been going on in NASCAR. And that was we had the hearing yesterday for the Penske Racing drivers. Mm-hmm. We brought this story to you 2 weeks ago, where NASCAR had come down on both Brad Keselowski's number 2 and Joey Logano's car. Actually took rear end machinery out of the car and cited them for pre-race violations and pre-race inspections. The hearings for that took place yesterday, and I must admit I was a little surprised. The panel upheld all of the penalties, including now, and this is what they're upholding, the drivers continue to be docked 25 points each. Mm-hmm. Suspension of the team's respective crew chiefs, car chiefs, engineers, team manager for 6 weeks, and a $100,000 fine to the crew chiefs. Roger Penske is appealing that to one more. It's a one-person panel essentially that it goes to. He's appealing it one more time. So with the exception of the points deduction, none of the other penalties go into effect just yet.
Are still suspended, yes.
Correct. So, we had talked last week about the penalties that NASCAR came down with on Matt Kenseth. And our thinking was, at least my thinking was, if we saw that some of these here might have been reduced, in fact, that would be a gateway potentially for Kenseth to be reduced. Right. In light of the fact we did not see a reduction here, does that not bode well for Kenseth?
It doesn't. And honestly, I'm not surprised that we didn't see any change in the penalties. Because basically, NASCAR levies the penalties. You appeal it to NASCAR.
Well,
okay?
Sure. Right, we've talked about this before.
Right, it's a committee, but you're basically appealing to themselves. You're just appealing to NASCAR again.
It's the same thing though in the NFL where they're appealing to Roger Goodell. I mean, in some respects, it's kind of ridiculous.
Right, and I guess if there's mitigating circumstances that you can present, there's a chance you may get it lowered. But you typically see it just stay the same. Then there's one additional final review, and that goes to the chief appellate officer.
Right.
That's where you'll see sometimes where the appellate officer comes back and says, well, you know what? Let's mediate a little bit on this. Yes, you're guilty. We're going to keep these, but we're going to lower this, or we're going to,
And that's where we saw the wipeout last year against Johnson's team.
Yep.
Was at this point right here.
Yep.
And there were a lot of people who were at that point saying the whole system's a joke. What's the whole point of this? If one guy, you've got a panel that you're going to, the panel's upholding the penalties, and then you go to one guy, and one guy's going to say, oh yeah, okay, boom, it's done, wipe it out. I mean, could we potentially see the same kind of thing here?
You could, or you could just see a lessening. Obviously I have no idea how the appellate officer is going to know, but we'll know on May 7th what his ruling is, and then on May 8th we'll get to find out whether NASCAR is going to do anything with Matt Kenseth.
With Kenseth,
and I honestly don't think you're going to see.
Well, you said last week you think the Kenseth thing is going to hold.
I think it's going to stick.
Yeah.
And I mean, depending on how the Penske thing goes with the appellate officer, you might be able to read into it a little bit for Matt Kenseth.
Right.
But again, like we were saying last week, the Penske penalty is a gray area. Kenseth is black and white. There's no gray area there.
Right.
So just because the appellate officer may lower Penske's, you may see him just say, no, I'm sorry, you're, to Kenseth, you're stuck. So.
Well, we'll see where it goes. I kind of have a gut feeling. I've been shocked about the severity of both penalties that we've talked about over the past 3 weeks now. I have a sneaky suspicion, and I might be wrong. We'll see how it goes, as you say, on May 7th. But wouldn't surprise me in the least if we see the Penske penalties lessened. I kind of just have that sneaky suspicion. Okay, now from short track this past weekend to monster track this coming weekend, we're heading down to Talladega Superspeedway in Lincoln, Alabama. And you can catch that Sprint Cup race live on Fox Sunday at 1 p.m. All right? Before we get to your fantasy stuff, though, let's take a quick look at the Frat House Sports NASCAR Fantasy Leaderboard. And there you see Sidekick's team Bloodpack finally making the move. Huh? You're moving up the board, and he's jumped all the way up to number 5. And Mike's Flyers, where's that one? Well, dropped off the board again this past week.
But we got to give shout-outs to Jen.
Absolutely.
Second win in a row.
2 in a row, 2 weeks in a row.
Yep. Moved up to second.
So, you got to help me out. To hell with Jen. Help me out, Sidekick. 4 Wide Racing we're going to this weekend.
Yep.
2 and 3/4 or 2 2/3 mile monster track. Where do we go with our fantasy teams this weekend? That's just what I need.
This is one of those weeks you can listen to me or not listen to me, and it probably won't make a hill of beans what
so
your
I won't
roster
even
is.
write them down.
Because this is one of those weekends where you're either going to cry or you're going to walk away feeling really damn lucky. Because this is a roll your dice weekend and hope you come out unscathed. Because we're going to a super speedway, restrictor plate racing, pack, the whole night, the big one, your roster gone in a second. So, without further ado, let's look at who, hopefully, we'll see if these people come out unscathed or not.
All right, I'm going to write them down just for the fun of it.
So, we're going to go with Matt Kenseth off top. He's got 2 wins at Talladega, and he's got 5 top 5s. And he's kind of, he's been on a roll this season. 2750 is what he's going for. Then we're gonna keep Casey Kane again. He won the pole in the Fall Dega race, and he has a 3-race top 12 streak at this track. 2550.
Okay.
We're gonna keep Clint Boyer on our list this week.
Okay.
Uncle Mark will be so happy.
Yep.
He's got 2 wins and 7 top 10s at this track. 26-25.
Okay.
Restrictor plate racing.
Yep.
Michael Waltrip's racing this weekend.
I know where you're going.
So we're going to want to put him on a roster. He's got 1 win, 15 top 10s, and he's great price. He's $12.50. You can't, it's almost a kind of shoe-in to put in there. And guess what, Mike? No Tommy Hill on the list this week. This week, we're going to round out the roster, we're going to go with Terry Labonte. He's racing this weekend. He's got 2 wins at this track, 23 top 10s, and he's only $7.75.
There you go.
Which brings our roster up to $9,950. 50 cents to spare.
And Labonte's a good big track driver.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
And we know he's driving, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
You checked that one. Okay.
Yes,
All
I
right.
did.
All right. All right, there you have it. And we'll be bringing you monster track racing next week at this time. Let's go take a look at Major League Baseball. We're going to bring you something we haven't done in a while. And that's a little, hey, how about this? 5 minutes outside the frat house.
Yep.
Because you and I had an opportunity this past weekend. We made our first trip to the home of the New York Mets.
Hit the road!
Nicely enough, they didn't tell us to do that. We went up to Citi Field. Ballpark's been open only 4 years. Did a very, very nice job, I thought, with it. Everybody we met was just wonderful to us. I mean, you can see we're wearing the opposition's garb there, folks.
But I will have to say, like National Stadium, there was a lot of red.
There was an awful lot of was a lot of Phillies representation there. There really was.
You could have called it Citizens Bank Park North.
Yeah, I would say easily 1/3, if not even a little bit more than that, of the audience.
And the Phillies cheers were just as loud as the Mets cheers.
So we had a chance to go up there. They did a beautiful job with this ballpark.
Yep.
As you go into the main, I guess it would be the main entrance, they've got the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. And so I managed to get a picture of Sidekick and myself. This is not like just for the movie, folks. This is there all the time. That is a permanent display in tribute to Jackie Robinson, and so we got our picture taken there. So there's our little, as I pointed out, we haven't done one of those in a while. 5 minutes outside the frat house.
It's been a little cold to be outside. It's getting warm again. We start,
We'll be doing more outside stuff. As we go along. But since we're into baseball, we got 1 month down and in the books for Major League Baseball. And talking about the weather, we can only hope that the weather gets a little more baseball-like. Apparently not. It's not the case tonight in Kansas City, you're telling me, huh?
No, it's snowing in Kansas City tonight.
I mean, will it please end, huh? You can only hope that the weather is going to get a little more baseball-like as we move through the month of May. But nonetheless, everybody persevered through the month of April, and let's take a look at where the divisions are standing at this point. Over in the American League, there's been no change from last week. The surprising Boston Red Sox stay at the top with a 19-8 record, 2 games in front of the duct-taped Yankees. There's my Kansas City Royals, rooting for them, as I will be all season long, still holding the Central, 15-10. They're a half game now in front of this week. This week it's the Detroit Tigers. And the Texas Rangers still number 1 in the West with a 17-10 record and 2 games in front of the Oakland A's. Over in the National League, the Atlanta Braves continue to hold the top spot in the East 17-10 is their record. 3.5 games in front of the Washington Nationals. But take note, folks, the Braves have cooled off quite a bit recently. They've come back to earth, 4-6 in their last 10. In the Central, it's still your Cardinals.
Yep.
16-11 record, half game in front of the who?
The Pirates.
Pittsburgh Pirates. How about that one?
What's up with that?
And in the West, still got the Colorado Rockies with a 17-11 record. 1 game in front of the San Francisco Giants. I just keep asking, wow, what the hell happened to the Dodgers? 13-14 and in 4th place in the West. Huh? Woo! Alrighty. Let's go take a look at some of the best of Major League Baseball in my Screwball Stories of the Week. There we go. Alrighty now listen, Monday night, the Oakland A's, I don't know if you caught any of this, but they played a 6.5 hour, yes, a 6.5 hour 19-inning marathon against the LA Angels. In the end, the A's won the game 10-8 when Brandon Moss hit his second home run of the evening in the 19th inning with 2 out. Now, following the game, apparently, the A's were so exhausted that no one had the strength to get out to the field to give the traditional victory pie to the face of the game's hero during the post-game interview. So Moss just did it himself. And if you get the chance, make sure you go YouTube that one because it's actually pretty amusing. Now, for talking about that 19-inning game, for most of last season, a good deal of the buzz was about the pending free agency of former Texas Ranger Josh Hamilton.
Oh wait, can you say deja vu?
Yeah, isn't it though? Isn't it? Where do you hear how deja vu this is? Seriously. Now, during the offseason, many were in the running for the services of Hamilton, including my Philadelphia Phillies. And so my question is, well, how's that working out for the Angels now, who actually won the Hamilton, what I would call the Hamilton lottery? Hamilton is currently hitting .214 with an on-base percentage of just .260. Just a mere 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 2 doubles, and 1 triple. Excuse me, he has a paltry 24 hits in 112 at-bats. And nothing epitomized Hamilton's slow start better than that 19-inning game that I just mentioned. On Monday night, in that game, Hamilton went 0 for 8.
Now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
Really, I'm sure that's what they might have been saying. 0 for 8 in 9 plate appearances with 3 strikeouts. And the only thing to his credit was a sacrifice fly.
So, want to ask Angel fans, how's that Pujols Hamilton thing working out for you, huh?
Yeah. Now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
And there it is. There's the second taunt. All right, now, it was just 2 weeks ago that all was good in Wrigleytown. And Cubs CEO Tom Ricketts, a man who's loved just about as much as Jeffrey Loria or the Maloof brothers, was glowingly speaking about the preliminary approval of the $500 million appropriation for a facelift to Wrigley Field. But that was then, and this is now. And this was yesterday, when Ricketts threatened he would move the team if he does not get his 2 monster outfield jumbotrons approved as part of the ballpark upgrades. Detractors of the plans, of the Wrigley Field facelift plans, claim that the video projection screens will destroy the old-style ambient beauty of this venerable park and obliterate the skyline view. Now, by all reports from current and retired players that I have heard over the years, Wrigley, admittedly, is sorely in need of upgraded facilities, particularly in the clubhouse and the locker room areas. But not once did I ever hear any current or former player say, you know something, you know what Wrigley needs? They gotta have those jumbotrons. Never heard that. So really, Ricketts, is this what this needs? Is this what you're going to hold up? And there you go, folks. You can see where they are. There's the plan. This is what he's going to move the team over.
How's that going to get you a World Series?
Well, you know, Uncle Mark made a great comment on that one the other day where he said, seems to me Ricketts ought to be a little bit more concerned about the product he's putting on the field. Last but not least, can you imagine? I mean, I say, can you imagine a baseball season without the concluding World Series? The Fall Classic, yes. Well, Oakland A's general manager and Moneyball figure Billy Beane can, apparently. Beane, a well-known fan of the game of international soccer, recently made the case to NBC Sports columnist Joe Posnanski for the elimination of the World Series. Posnanski, in his article, actually stated, and these are Posnanski's words, in England, soccer mirrors life. It's the day-to-day excellence that marks greatness, not a 3 or 4 week run to glory. Well, I think we should bring some of that spirit to America, especially to baseball. They play 162 games in baseball. 162. I mean, seriously, that's a lot of baseball games. No other sport plays so many. That's more than enough games to determine who are the best teams in baseball. You've got some thoughts on this one.
Actually,
I've got some thoughts on this one.
you know, looking at it, first look, you hear him say, doing away with the World Series, and you're like, what are you smoking, man?
Out of your effing mind? Yeah.
You know, but, you know, reading through it, at least trying to have an open mind, you know, and listen to what they're saying, is actually they do make some interesting points in that. And, you know, for those that aren't aware, you know, basically in the article, they're comparing it to the English Premier League, where they, in fact, have no playoffs.
Right. Now, we're talking, we're talking soccer now.
Yes, this is soccer, obviously not baseball.
We're not talking cricket.
So basically, there's 20 teams in the league. There's no conferences, divisions. Okay, every team plays every team twice. There's one home game, one away game. All right, so there's basically every team plays 38 matches. Okay. Then what happens is basically the Premier League is the top league. Okay, so and then you've got the European Championship. So basically, the top 4 teams from the Premier League. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Your champion is the team with the most points. Okay, the top 4 teams from the Premier League then go on to the European Championship. So and they play in a playoff format, but you've got all the countries in Europe sending their 4 teams.
Right.
And then you have a playoff format there.
As I pointed out to you pre-show, a la the baseball classic that we saw played.
Except instead of, like we were talking about, instead of having national players playing against other national players, you would send a Philadelphia Phillies team or a St. Louis Cardinals team.
Right, it would be the complete team.
Right. Okay. Now, that's not what they're presenting. This is kind of my tweak to their proposal, is then you have a true World Series where you have Japanese teams come in.
Or South American teams or whatever, whoever wants to represent. And they would be going up against whoever our champion would be in Major League Baseball.
Right.
So if that turned out to be, say, the St. Louis Cardinals or the New York Yankees or whomever, that's who they would play. They would play our best representative from the United States.
Yep.
And you think this could work?
Well, it's an interesting concept to at least look at. You'd have to have a major kind of reworking of things.
I think you'd have to have a major rethinking of everybody's minds.
Well, yeah. But the other interesting aspect of that, if you were to mirror this English Premier League, right? In the English Premier League, the bottom 3 teams are kicked out.
And
they're relegated down to the Football League Championship, which is basically their AAA team.
Which is equivalent to AAA, right?
Okay, so if we were to look at the standings today, you're talking about Houston, Miami, and San Diego would be kicked down to AAA. And then, to replace those 3 teams, the top 2 Football League Championship teams are then promoted up. The 3rd and 4th ranked teams have a playoff on a neutral field, and then the winner of that becomes the 3rd team to go up. And that. So.
And the English came up with this formula?
I don't know if it was the English or if it was Europe-wide, but that's how the English league is.
I mean, seriously.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
This is so convoluted. In some respects, it's so difficult to wrap my mind around. That this is where I don't think it would. I mean, there's so many things that wouldn't fly with America.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I mean, the article even pointed out. I mean, the thing we're so caught up in our playoff concept. We have to have a playoff in everything. I mean, virtually everything. I mean, look, hold on. Let me just back up the bus for a moment because we're going to jump over. We're going to talk about MLS in a moment. Even MLS, my good soccer friend, has a playoff.
Yes. And they also have conferences and divisions.
Why isn't MLS working this way?
Well, because obviously it's America. And as Americans...
So even they realize that this wouldn't work.
Yeah, because look at college football. They didn't have a...
Well,
you didn't have a you didn't have a playoff system, really.
We've been fighting for a real playoff system for years.
Exactly.
Right.
Because as Americans, we want playoffs.
We want playoffs. Playoffs.
So, but it is kind of an interesting thing, and if you you take the mold and you start thinking about it, where you send teams down to AAA and you bring AAA teams up, it does get a little interesting.
I think that's
a little bit of a twist.
That's kind of intriguing. I think that's kind of a neat thing because, as I pointed out to you pre-show, I think that would force some teams to make sure that they're investing properly in their farm system and in their Triple League teams. So I think from that perspective, it's a positive. But
I mean, honestly, it's not going to fly.
It's not going to fly.
But it is kind of interesting, to kind of ponder.
To just play around with. Well, Billy Bean, we liked your movie. Keep your comments to yourself. Get some facts and come back and see me. How about that one? Listen,
MLS.
Since we just got done talking a little soccer, how about we jump over and take a look at a little Major League Soccer here, American style.
Yep, a little segue.
I saw that a couple of things changed up in the Eastern Division, so give us the news on that.
All right, so in the Eastern Conference, we've got the Montreal Impact sitting at 16 points, 5-1-1. The Red Bulls.
Yeah, how about this one?
You're frickin'. The Red Bulls have moved up in the second in the East. 14 points there, 4-4-2.
That's a 500 record, though, dude. I mean, seriously. Is the East that weak?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I mean, at least the Union's still up in the top 5 to get in.
They're six when I saw it this morning. Go ahead.
I thought they were still up above the line. But they did have a horrible showing last week against New England. Western Conference, FC Dallas. They're the strong team.
Exactly.
They're sitting on 20 points, 6-1-2.
Only lost one match.
Followed up by the LA Galaxy, 14 points, 4-1-2. And for local, Union fan, congratulations go out to the Union's Jack McInerney, who is the MLS Player of the Month for April.
Yep.
And our next game is Saturday against Seattle.
Home?
Home.
Oh, you'll be down at that one for us.
Actually, I will be probably cornering a training partner.
Oh, that's right.
Who has a title match this weekend down in Delaware.
You mentioned that. There you go.
So he will be going for the belt this weekend. So
alrighty, there's a little international football American style for you, and we'll bring a little bit more back to you as it happens. How about the NBA? We got the NBA playoffs going. Two series have concluded at this point. Surprisingly, all the others are still going, and I say surprisingly, I mean that. I think some of these, I'm a little bit surprised at some of the outcomes. What do we got on that one?
If you're not tired of hearing from me yet, let's go through the NBA wrap-up, huh?
It's giving my
giving you a little rest this week, huh? So in the West, we've got Oklahoma City and Houston. Oklahoma City is up 3-2 over Houston. We've got the Clippers and Memphis. surprise. Last week we were reporting the Clippers were up 2-0 on Memphis. Memphis has come back with 3 straight wins to now take the lead in that series. We've got Denver and the Golden State Warriors. Denver 2, Golden State Warriors 3. San Antonio Spurs have swept the Lakers.
Yep.
Goodbye, Kobe-less Lakers.
Yep.
That's the final, so they're moving on. In the East, we've got Miami sweeping Milwaukee. They're done, out of here.
No surprise there.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Chicago and Brooklyn. Chicago leads the series 3-2 over Brooklyn.
That one's a bit of a surprise. Go ahead.
Yep. We've got the Pacers and the Hawks. The Pacers are up 3-2 in that series.
Yep.
And then we've got the Knicks over the Celtics 3-2.
Celtics have battled back in that one.
Yep.
Knicks had a 3-0 lead, and they have won the last 2. They're forcing a Game 6 back to Boston. Woo!
Yep.
Stay tuned. Buckle your seatbelt. That one could get interesting, particularly with all the trash talk that was going on at the end of that game last night. And we'll save that for another night.
Yep. And tonight we have 2 Game 6s. We have Brooklyn and Chicago at 8 p.m. Eastern time for those of us on the East Coast. And then we've got Denver and Golden State at 10:30.
The NHL now is finally in their playoffs as well, and they all began.
God, it's almost over.
And they all began on Tuesday evening. So let's go take a look at where the series are at this point. And most of them only have 1 game, and in some cases you're going to see some of them are just kicking off tonight. In the West, the number 8 seed is the Minnesota Wild, and they're going up against the number 1 Chicago Blackhawks. Blackhawks right now up 1-0 in that series. The Detroit Red Wings are the number 7 versus the number 2 Anaheim Ducks. Ducks are up 1-0. San Jose Sharks, number 6 now in this one, going up against the number 3 Vancouver Canucks. Underdog Sharks up 1-0. Defending Stanley Cup champion LA Dodgers, LA Kings are the number 5 going up against the number 4 St. Louis Blues. Blues are up in that one 1-0. In the East, the number 8 are the New York Islanders, and they're going against the number 1 Pittsburgh Penguins. That wasn't even a match last night in Game 1. The Penguins, I think the last one I saw, were winning that one 5-0. I think that's the way it ended. They're now up 1-0 in the series. The Ottawa Senators are the number 7 playing the number 2 Montreal Canadiens. That game is this evening. Same with the number 6 New York Rangers going against the number 3 Washington Capitals. That should be a very good series, I believe. That series opens this evening as well. And then the number 5 Toronto Maple Leafs hold a surprising 1-0 lead over the number 4 Boston Bruins. Alrighty. And that's our show for this evening. Well, we did a little bit better than last week, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Oh, boy, oh, boy. It's so tough to get everything in all right, anyhow. Let's run around. Let's run around real quick. Oh, gosh.
Fan
Junkies. Yeah,
Junkies.net.
go ahead, do it for me. Go ahead, just run with it.
FanJunkies.net, where social media meets sports. Jump on over there.
We're sports meets social media.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Networking. We're sports. We all get it wrong.
Yep.
Jonathan,
Anyways.
fix that logo. Fix that tagline, will you? It's too difficult. FanJunkies.net. It's completely free, will you? It's Facebook for sports nuts like us. FanJunkies.net. That's where you got to go.
Yep.
Fan Junkies Radio, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My gosh, we're moving up to our 100th episode next Friday. Gosh, I hope I have a voice for it.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, listen, I will be, and I'll be doing it tomorrow because that's our regular Friday show. So, but next week, leading up to our 100th show, which will be May 10th, we will have guests on the entire week, including John Borick of CSN Philadelphia, who covers the Philadelphia Flyers.
Nice.
So he'll be on with us on Wednesday. Herb FM Sports, herbfm.com. All right, internet-based radio rebroadcast our right here, rebroadcast our 5 minutes at the Frat House. You haven't seen but we think it's usually Friday nights.
Yep.
We think Friday night. Check their schedule. Get over to herbfm.com. CLW83. I was on with Jim Williams again this week on his Touch 'Em All show. It's a 2-hour panel program. It's so much fun. It really is. It's almost like the Great Sports Debate, where we just talk baseball. And it's we got guys on there from Seattle and guys from Indianapolis, and you got myself, and you got Jim, and we're from all over the country, and we're bringing all kinds of baseball stuff together. Great program, and along with all their other great programming over on CLW 83. And then last but not least, FratHouseSports.net. Don't forget our own website.
Yep.
Can you do the keep it real, keep it live? I don't know.
All right.
All right, I'm
You
dying.
have to ask me
Suck it up. Come on, man.
All right, you know what you got to do for us, please, before my voice completely gives out. You got to keep us real, you got to keep us live, and you got to keep us going. We'll see you next week with a better voice. Thanks very much.
There goes Carl on the outside. He's got a nice run.
How about Kevin Harvick in that 29er? That's his teammate he's chasing.
McMurray got caught out, but way up the hill. Here they come to turn 3. Looking for the white flag. Off of 4 on the outside. Harvick with the lead. Boyer into turn 1 for the final time. Logano and Carl Edwards. Montoya 6th. 1 car high. Kyle Busch. No problem. Here they come to turn 3.
You ought to see what's going on. They're everywhere.
And Harvick's got the field in his mirror. The closer, Kevin Harvick, wins Richmond.
Nice job, young man. Good job.